So last month I shared with you examples of how I adapted the Dullahan of Irish folklore and the Wendigo of Algonquin tradition, as well as providing tips for writing these kinds of creatures into your own work. This month we're tackling two more creatures of folklore, namely, we are looking at the Will-o'-the-Wisps and Dragons. My favorite. A will-o'-the-wisp is more or less an atmospheric ghost, most often seen at night or in dark overgrown forests, marshes, bogs, or swamps. Folklore depicts them as mischievous spirits or the souls of the dead. Its name is derived from the word wisp, meaning a bundle of straw or paper, and will, a mischievous spirit. The name literally translates the will of the torch, which is important to remember that their presence often looks like a flame dancing in the air. Probably one of the most famous depictions I've seen in modern times is in the Disney animated film Brave, in which Princess Meredith follows a trail set for her by a will-o'-the-wisp, leading her to the old witch's hut and throughout her adventure in reconciling with her overbearing mother.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
The folklore suggests these lights are supernatural entities, such as fairies or the dead leading travelers astray, and serving as a warning to stick to safe paths and roads. Other beliefs associate them with buried treasure or the work of devils. Of course, if that isn't clear-cut enough for you, science, that pesky thing that we're told to blindly trust, offers a different explanation. Like with any myth or folklore, the stories are used to describe something natural that people just hadn't come to fully understand yet. In this case, the wills or spirits aren't spirits at all, but ignited jets of flammable gases, primarily methane trapped in marshy areas.
Pumbaa, with you, everything's gas.
These gases can spontaneously ignite and create a flickering flame. Now, I've personally never used anything like this in my stories, but now that I understand them a bit better, I'd love to incorporate them. But here's one way that I've seen it used in recent memory: Halo. It's a bit of a stretch, but if you go with me on this, throughout the core Halo games, Cortana is Master Chief's guide on the Halo arrays. She lights his paths, she opens doors. It's a game mechanic the developers use to give a sense of direction when the player seems lost. Probably the best example I've seen from the franchise is in Halo 3 ODST, where the Superintendent AI literally gets your attention by remotely triggering info screens, door locks, flashing police sirens, and other lighting effects to draw the rookie's attention to the path the player needs to take. Now let's turn our attention to our second topic, dragons. Specifically Dragon Days. This is a Celtic celebration often observed during the autumnal equinox, which we just observed back in mid to late September. Dragons were viewed by the Celts as symbols of earth energy, fire, and regeneration, and they would invoke dragons to carry fire into the coming winter. And given the fact that at Halloween time, it's often when we see dark riders, such as last month's Dullahan, emerge from the spirit realms, the Celts wanted to take on that fierce bravery of dragons to fight against such darkness and evil. In modern times, Dragon Day is officially held in Glastonbury every January 16th, where they teach about the cultural and symbolic significance of dragons and reflect on themes like courage, transformation, and the cycles of nature. I've incorporated dragons throughout my writing, and like the Celts, who saw them as symbols of bravery against evil, that is how I've applied them. One of the main characters from my first book, The Heirs of Menenias, and the central protagonist of the follow-up, The Destiny of Dragons, is a ranger named Gavin who was bonded with a small dragon named Nex. Gavin grew up in an orphanage, and Nex had been given to him in the form of a statue. On Gavin's 7th birthday, the spell on Nex disappears, and the two are bonded as brohimistas, or spirit brothers. So here are some tips for writing in these kinds of elements. Tip number 1. If you're looking to use a will-o'-the-wisp, you can either go the mystical supernatural route and stick with tradition, or you can do like I mentioned in the Halo games and have it be something completely technological. Adapt the legend accordingly to the genre of the story you're trying to tell. You can make it as overt or as subtle as you need, and sometimes the more subtle it is, the more fun you can have with it. One way that this legend is used without seeming technological or supernatural is in the form of a treasure map. Treasure maps often pave the way with clues and hints and puzzles, helping guide characters to whatever it is that they're looking for. Tip number 2. I want to focus less on dragons than on the actual celebration. The reason I say this is because you don't necessarily have to use the dragon iconography for whatever celebration that you're highlighting in your book or story. You can use any kind of primal entity that you'd like, but take into consideration symbolism represented by whatever it is a celebration focuses on, and perhaps come up with some rituals and traditions that the people celebrating reenact every year that the event is observed. Lastly, tip number 3. Try to find a way to incorporate both the celebration and the Will-o-the-Wisp guide as a tethered pair. If you're doing something with a supernatural element like urban fantasy or dark fantasy or even horror, tie that spirit to the celebration itself. Or you can simply have that spirit become active either during the celebration or because of it. I hope these tips help you in your writing phases, and I'll be back next month with more.